Hello, hello, hello. It's another Tuesday. Man, they come round fast. Goodness, it only seems 2 minutes since I did the last one. And here we are again on another Tuesday, another episode of Can We Get the Gadgets to Actually Work? And they are working. So yay, minute early, but it doesn't matter. So as always, tell me where you're watching from. Say hi. We love to see where you're all watching from, which is it's just so much fun. I am going to play with Layers of Beauty tonight, which is what this is on my desk already in front of me. I've made a couple of examples already, which I can share with you, but this is just such a pretty set. This is the bundle. I've put the information in the heading for this video. I think it's a great combination. Obviously with a bundle, it's a discount. We love a discount. And remember also with your Stampin' Rewards, you're going to earn 10% back to use on your next order as well. So this isn't going to be a super long video. I'm going to try and keep it pretty concise tonight. We'll try. It doesn't always work like that, but the nice thing about this bundle is you get the stamp set. It's a polymer stamp set. We love a clear stamp, we really do, you know that. So if I take this out, you'll be able to see the images. You've got this great big flower. You've also got some smaller leaves and buds, and then some smaller flowers, which are great for decorating. You can obviously see it again here. Happy anniversary, you make my heart smile. That's a nice one. Happy anniversary on the outside, and you make my heart smile on the inside. Grateful for you. You've got God bless. So you've got some really nice images. This large image can also be cut smaller. If you like this little image here, but you want something a little bit bigger, you could always stamp this image and then trim just this piece of the image off, so you've got a larger cluster, and that would be a great image to cluster the bigger image with. So you also have, on top of the stamp set, there is also a die cut set. We love the dies, so obviously this very large one fits this. Yep. And then this smaller image you can use to cut out, let me hold it over and you can see, you can actually cut out partial images. How cool is that? You could use it on that piece there if you wished. This one is obviously this one, and you can figure it out. Obviously this small one is here. The nice thing about this also is the fact that it has the additional dies, and you've got some really pretty leaves with some cutout sections in them, and then some long frondy leaves as well, which almost mimic this one here, which is really nice. And a tag. We love a tag, so God bless would fit on that little tag as well. Like it. It's a nice set. All right. Now, the third piece for this set are the decorative masks. And obviously, if you're getting the bundle, you get all three pieces together. And like I said, it's discounted. And it's actually a set of 5 masks. Okay, they're numbered. I know it's difficult to see, but trust me, they are. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different masks. 3 of them form the flowers, and then 2 of them form the leaves. And I'm going to show you an easy way to use these. It has instructions in here. We love instructions, which makes life easier. So I'm going to use the same colours that I've used on the previous 2 examples, just to make it easier. And I want to show you how we can get multiple colours from different stamps. I've shown you this with stamping, where we've inked up a block, a stamp on a block, and then I've shown you how you can take a very rich pigmented ink and then stamp it multiple times, and it will get lighter and lighter and lighter each time. I'm going to do the same thing with the blending brushes, and you can see these are the colours I've already used, so we're going to use them again. I did have somebody ask me, do I just keep one brush for each colour? You could. I don't tend to. I go wash them, and obviously there is a lot of ink, can you see? And these brushes are very, very densely packed, so that ink goes down in there. But I wash them 2 or 3 times, and then I put them on a piece of paper towel upside down so the water drains out of them, and then I'll wash them repeatedly. Do I tend to keep a similar colour on these? Yes, I do. These are the small ones, as you can see. I mean, this one still has a little bit of a purpley hue to it. Will I keep it for the pink and purple colours? Probably. We also do larger ones as well. This is one of the larger ones. So they're super soft. I love them. They feel like teddy bears. You know, hi Yuka. You know I have my emotional support brushes, and right now I'm needing one of these. I do wash them and I do use them for multiple colours. If you prefer to keep them in a colour combination, you absolutely can. The choice is yours. You could have one for every colour of ink. That if I had a little bit more space to work in, I would absolutely do that. Hey Ada, but because my workroom is also my spare bedroom for visitors, I have to keep my supplies slightly contained, although you'd never know it looking at the room right now. I don't really have room for one of these in every colour, but I really would like one. But I would just wash them. So that's how that works. All right, so I've already cut a piece of cardstock. And so if you notice on these masks, they've got a notch cut out in the top of them, okay? So that's going to help you line them up, all right? So I am going to take my mask, and instead of just having it square on the paper, I'm going to put them at an angle, right? So I'm only going to have a partial image, so I'm going to just angle it slightly, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pencil and I'm just going to draw in that V with my pencil and then along a little bit. Just makes it a little bit easier. All right, so we're taking Calypso Coral and Garden Green. Like I said, they are very pigmented inks, and you know the way to use the blending brushes. I've already shown you how to, but I'm going to remind you again, and I'm just going to bring my cardstock down just a little bit, and I'm hoping you can see this online. All right, so as you can see, my mask has already moved, but it doesn't matter because I have that little guide where I drew it in. And we're going to erase it afterwards, so it doesn't matter. All right, we're going to rub, we're going to rub my blending brush on the ink pad, remember, round and round in circles, and then you are going to tip off. Look how much ink is on there. And then we're going to start off with a very, very light colour, okay? Very, very softly with this mask. Now, you just wash them in between. Colours, you can obviously use them over and over again, so that's a very, very light colour. Now what you could do, you could use 3 different colours. You could start off with Petal Pink and then come into Calypso Coral and then finish it off with something like, oh, I don't know, you could always bring in Poppy Parade. That would be super cute. Something with that orangey pinky shade to it, more of an orange red. Or you could go a light pink. You could start off with Pretty in Pink or Flirty Flamingo, and then work your way through the shades, the yellows or the pinks, or the pinks through purples would be super pretty. You could start off with Petal Pink and then Calypso Coral, and then sorry, I've gone through the same colours again. You know, Pretty in Pink, and then Gorgeous Grape, and then Blackberry Bliss, and really pull in the different colours. But I'm showing you how you can just use one colour. Okay, so very, very soft. I'm not even going to re-ink this. I'm going to take this mask away. I'm going to come in with number 2, okay? Again, lining it up with that line that I drew in my pencil, okay? And this time, I'm going to use the same ink, but I'm going to press on a little bit harder. And you're going to say, Sarah, I can't tell any difference. Trust me, you will. So we're just going over those images just a little bit harder. All right. So we're going to take that one away. And look, can you see the difference already? Now this time I'm going to pick up a little bit more ink. I'm going to tap it off just again, just to make sure. And then we're going to line up the final of the floral masks. And you can see how much darker already that image is. You can pick up some more ink if you want. I always like to just tap off that extra. I don't want it to be, and I tend to go in both ways. I go one way and then another way to make sure I've got all of those little pieces. Okay, and there is my mask. Now you could say, oh, Sarah, I wanted this one to be darker. You could just come back in. Okay, line it up again, take off a little bit of that extra, and you could absolutely come back in and make it darker if you wanted to. So you've got options. Just because you've taken that mask away, because you've got that little notch, you can always come back in. Okay, so obviously, as you can see, these masks are now nice and inky, and I will take those and I will go and wash them before I put them away. All right, so let's now come in here with exactly the same technique, but we're going to do the leaves now. This is the garden green. So I'm using Calypso Coral and garden green. Again, picking up that ink, taking off that extra. This is a super, super strong color. We don't want to totally overwhelm it. Again, lining up that mask, take it off, and then very gently, because this is a very strongly pigmented ink. And again, going both ways. So I go clockwise and anti-clockwise to make sure I've got all of those little edges done. All right. I mean, can it get any easier than this? And then here we go. This is the final one. Let's just line it up. All right. And then here we go again. And if it moves, it doesn't matter. Right, I'm going to pick up a bit more ink and really come in. Woo, that's a dark colour. And again, we are going to go and build it up backwards and forwards just to get all of those. I'm going to add a bit more ink down here to balance it out because it's really dark here. Even though I tapped it off, can you see how much darker it is? All right, look how pretty that is. Now, I've come off a little bit. I wasn't watching what I was doing, and I've come off my stencil just a little bit. Doesn't matter, you could add in some of this as a background. In fact, I will. I'm going to erase this first. Okay, just taking an eraser and just taking out that, and I'm just going to put a little bit of green in the background. It hides any errors, right? And it just anchors it just a little bit. How pretty is that? Super, super pretty. Okay, so the final thing you could do if you wanted to, I'm not going to on this because I want to give you another option, right? So what you can now do is take this image and stamp it over the top, and it gives you the outline. And so let me just show you a card here where I did exactly that. So I just did exactly what I've done here, and then I came in with that overlay stamp and stamped in all of that detail. Can you see the difference between the two? I think they are both equally pretty. I love these masks. I really, really do. I think it's such a pretty effect. But then, let's say when you stamp that detail, let me bring it up so you can see it a bit clearer. It just totally changes the look when you add in that background. What do you think? Which one do you prefer? Tell me in the comments below. Do you like the one with the stamped outline, or do you like this one? This almost reminds me of an oil painting. This reminds me of a printed image, but this reminds me of an oil painting or almost a tapestry effect. And I really like this effect. Okay, let's just put this card together. We're going to, because I've added that ink around the edges in places, I really like that because I'm going to bring in just a little bit on around the corners, and it almost highlights it and it almost gives it that tapestry feel. Okay. I'm just coming around the edges, just a whisker, with just what is the residue on that brush. I haven't re-inked it. So comment to say in the comments below which you prefer. So I am going to put in, all of my blocks are packed away. So I'm having to use an old block. I'm getting ready for an event, and so let's just use, I think I'm going to use a little bit of the green. I'm just going to gently, you're just kissing it, remember. Ooh, I need to get my head in the way. I know. There we go. Happy anniversary. Although the way we're going this week, it's not going to be an issue. You know, some days are easier than others, and this weekend is not one of them. And that's the way it goes, right? So, on this card here, I used some of the Petal Pink Scalloped Edge ribbon. Isn't that pretty? That is 164680, okay? I want to show you another one where I did this same technique. I wanted to give it the idea of almost it was growing up in a Victorian greenhouse or a in a trellis. You know those old-fashioned trellises. So I took this same idea and then I just cut it up into pieces and then threaded the ribbon down the middle. I just think that looks super, super pretty. The gems I used on this one are the Rainbow Adhesive Dots 162758, and then on this card, and they almost look like bubbles, I used the Holographic Resin Dots 165598, just so you know which ones I used. But can you see the difference in them? And I added some of the green cardstock. Okay, so let's put this on a card. We're going to pop it up on something. Okay, shall I use this same ribbon? I could, seeing as it's out. I want to give it a different look. Oh, yeah, look at that. I like that. Okay, you know me, I'm not usually into triangles, but occasionally, just occasionally, I kind of like that. So let's put on some, let's put some adhesive on this because I can't remember where this is going to run. Yeah, I like that. It's just that little bit different, having it at an angle. Now, let's turn it over. And we'll just tuck this around the back into the adhesive. Ooh, me like it. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a fake knot. Okay, apparently I cannot tie a knot when it's attached to a card. Okay, all I'm going to do is just tie it in a single knot. And then hopefully this is still long enough. I like that look. Okay, let's try again. Stick it back down. Yes, it's long enough. Look at that. Look at me go. Look at me go. How pretty that is. Okay, 3D foam tape. If I was 3D foam tape, I would be right here. You see, I put it ready so I could teach this class, and then I promptly go and lose it. So don't be stingy with your 3D foam tape. There's nothing worse than creating a card and then it's sagging in the middle because you've only put it at the edges and not in the centers to support it. You don't have to peel the backing off on the middle ones. It's sticky enough to do it at the edges. But I really like it. Plenty on there because it just helps to support it. Right. Cute. Cute, cute, cute. Look how pretty that is. Me likey. All right. I like this ribbon. It ties beautifully into bows and in knots and all things. Okay. So I think we'll finish it off with some of the metallic enamel effects. Now, if you go to my website at sarabatkin.stampinup.net, you will find that this is half price. These are down to $7.50 instead of $15 for the 3 bottles, and I'm going to use the copper effects on this one. So the reference number 161610, there are still some left. I just checked before I came online. And we are going to just put a few little dots. How cute are they? And they have that same sort of pinkish. I'm going to put one up here because I did a little bit of a smear of ink. How cute is that? I'll just do a few. I don't want it to look like it's got measles. But look how pretty that is. I love it. What I could also do is, which I should have done before I started going in with the copper metallic effects, because you'd be very, very careful if you're going to do this, that you don't smudge this, because this is all wet. I'm just going to put just a little bit in the center of those flowers. And I will hold this up. I'm not doing the roses, just those little tiny flower buds around the edge. Cute. Me likey. What do you think? Not pretty? So easy. But I love this stencil. So we had multiple stamp sets that have this mask. If you put in the word masks in the search bar, you'll come up with all of the other stamp sets that have a mask with it. We did have trees that had masks, so make sure you go and check it out. Anyway, that's it for tonight. I told you it was going to be a quick and easy one tonight. So I hope you like the difference between them. Tell me in the comments below which is your favourite. Like I said, I actually like it when it doesn't have the edging on. I love the edging. I love this card. I think this is super pretty, but I love it when it doesn't, because it almost gives you that cross-stitch tapestry feel. So have a wonderful week wherever you're watching from, and I will see you next Tuesday. Bye.